this morning. So let's sit in a comfortable position, whatever comfortable is for you, whether that's a cross-legged position, whether cross-legged is horrid for you and you'd prefer to have your legs out in front because of tightness or issues with the hips or knees. Make yourself comfortable, sit as tall as you can, and let's just take a few moments to calm the mind. So if the morning's been a rush, if there's a lot going on, if there are things going wrong that are out with your control, just take a moment to bring your focus back to the breath. Crisis world, crisis for which we have no control, but that is the reality of life. External circumstances happen around us, but at our core, at our center, at the heart of our real being, we are not affected. That within us, which is eternal, will continue beyond this and existed before it. So bring your focus to your breath. Inhale deeply. Connect with that wealth of life force and exhale deeply. All the sludge of toxic memory, let it go. Inhale again, flutter open the eyelids if you've had them closed, roll the shoulders back and down. Clasp the fingers together, interweave your fingers so that one of your thumbs is on top. Make a note of which thumb is on top at this stage. We're going to send the fist away, opening out the chest, sending the shoulders away from each other, drawing the belly button to the spine and rounding the back. And then as we inhale, draw the fist back in, flip the fingers so the palms come away, send the palms away from you and start to draw the hands up. So we flip the palms again, we make a fist, we press the fist away, we exhale and we curve the spine. We inhale, we lengthen the spine, we flip the palms, we draw the palms away from us and start to lift them up. So we're going to keep going with that. On an exhalation, we curl the spine, extend the spine, take your eye gaze down towards your belly and round your back. On an inhalation, we start to extend the spine. And as we warm up a little bit more, draw the chest forward and the arms back. So you're opening into the chest, opening into the shoulders. Exhaling, rounding, fist away. Inhaling, flip the palms, take the arms up, draw the chest forward and the shoulders back. Draw the arms down, release the palms, take them out to the outside, clasp the hands again with the same thumb on top, and this together, or just draw your hands together and open your chest. So we're drawing the shoulder blades together here. It's quite strong, really lovely wake up for the spine. And now draw your hands towards your right hip, if you can. Maybe they don't go all that way around. Lengthen the spine and look over your right shoulder. So we're opening, lengthening, stretching the shoulders, stretching out the side of the neck as well. Take a deep breath here. Exhale deeply. Release the hands. Give them a little shake out if you need to. If you've got your legs crossed, then change the cross of your legs. Why not? Shake it all up. Give your brain a little bit of extra work to do to engage with the unfamiliar. Now we clasp the hands with what will feel like the wrong thumb on top. So we habitually clasp in one way. We're going to deliberately clasp in the other. It feels very strange. You even have to look at your fingers, or maybe that's just me, to check that they're all actually interwoven. Exhale, draw the fist away, round the spine, round, and inhale as you come back to the vertical. Flip the palms, take the arms up and overhead. Shoulders back and down, draw the shoulder blades together. We exhale to round. And we inhale to come in and up and stretch. Do 2 more. Go as slowly as your breathing will allow. If you're finding the deep breaths difficult, if you had a trying morning, my sympathies are with you, then you might be going a little bit faster. But as you move with your breath, as you find that rhythm, the breath starts to slow. The exhalations can be longer. Through the agency of the vagus nerve, we know that those slow, long exhalations lower the heart rate, lower the blood pressure, bring us back into a state of calm. Release the hands, take them behind you, clasp them behind you with the same thumb on top. So what feels like the wrong thumb. So we're not judgmental about our right and left. We're just going to draw the fists away, start to bring the palms together, open the chest, open the heart space as you draw your shoulder blades together. So that's quite strong on the shoulders and upper back. Really important if you're going to spend the rest of the day hunched over your laptop. Getting frustrated with technology, or is that just me? And then just take your hands to your left hip. Sit up tall and look over your left shoulder. Lengthening here, finding space. Engage with the breath. And then release the hands and release the feet. We're coming over onto all fours. We're not doing our cat-cow curls. We've done our spinal flexion and extension, but we are going to line up in a box position. So shoulders over wrists and hips over knees. We'll just give the wrists a little bit of a stretch here. So flip the wrists so that your fingertips are facing towards your knees. The backs of the palms come to the floor, and stretch out the backs of your hands here. Might feel like a nice stretch, might feel really quite horrid. So just listen to your body and go gently towards the edge of the stretch without hurting yourself. We'll go the other way now, taking the hands out to the side like a sea lion, or maybe taking them all the way back here so your wrists face forward. And if it's in your practice and you want to have a little lion's roar, Simbasana, let your belly drop. Let your eyes bulge, look up, stick your tongue out, and roar. Good. And then release the wrists. If you're new to yoga and you wonder what on earth that was all about, just go with it for now. Sit back on your heels and stretch out. Inhale, come forward onto all fours. Draw your right foot to the front of your mat and come into a low lunge. Wrap your shoulders back and down, look forward and up, light in the fingertips, stretching out into the back hip flexor. Now we're going to stretch the front hamstring. So keeping, if you can, your low ribs quite close to your thigh. Send your hips back and your right toes up towards the ceiling. Try not to rock over to one side. Try and keep your hips stable if you can, as you feel that lovely stretch in your hamstrings here. And we're going to do that a couple more times in both directions. Coming forward to stretch out your hip flexor on the left side, and then coming back on an exhalation, stretching out your hamstrings on the right. So hamstrings can get very tight if you're sitting a lot during the day. They can also get tight if you like to do a lot of running or walking and don't find time to do enough stretching. And most runners and walkers, in my humble opinion, don't do enough stretching. So see if you can do a little bit more stretching into that muscle there. Come forward on an inhalation, and we come back on an exhalation. So next time you come forward, stay forward, draw your chest forward so your weight is nicely forward here, so you're not leaning on your back kneecap. Your weight is slightly in front of your knee on that back leg. And we're going to take a twist to the right. So place your left fingertips on the mat, open your chest to the right-hand side, take your right fingertips up to the ceiling, or if it's available to you, your knee's okay, you've got plenty of padding underneath it, then you can draw that foot in towards your buttock. You can either draw it tightly in and look forward, or you can wrap the shoulder back and down, take the foot a little bit further back, and that opens the chest a little bit more. Open your left ribs up towards the ceiling if you can. Watch this front leg hasn't wobbled out. Draw it in towards your lower ribs. And then release that foot, release the hand, and take your right leg back to a kneeling position. Take one exhalation in child's pose, bringing your brow to the mat, releasing off your wrists if you need to. Inhale, come forward. This time it's the left leg. Draw yourself forward, draw your chest forward, your shoulders back and down. Find that nice stretch here. And then as you exhale, same thing, the hamstring stretch on the left. So watch you're not rocking out. Try and keep the hips level. Try and keep the chest engaged towards the thigh. It may not come very near to the thigh, but do what you can. And then we inhale to come forward, stretching out the hip flexor here on the right. And exhaling, stretching out the hamstring. So the toes come up towards the ceiling, energy in that front foot, light in the fingertips if you can. Inhaling, shoulders wrap back and down, eye gaze can come up if you want. You could even lift your hands if you're feeling energetic, salute the sun. Exhaling here, feel that lovely stretch. We're doing one more. And then we're exhaling to come back. Flex the foot. Come forward, place your right hand into the mat. Make sure your weight's nice and far forward here, that you're not on your kneecap, you're slightly above your kneecap. You've got plenty of padding under the knee. Left fingertips up to the ceiling, open your chest, draw your shoulder blades together at the back. You can stay here, or you can draw the foot in, stretch the heel towards the buttock, look forward, or here you can open the chest to the side, draw your right ribs in towards your left inner thigh. Take that stretch if it suits you. If you're hating that, if you get cramp in your back leg, then you can come into a lunge here, or even lift the heel to stretch off if you've got that cramp. Then we release the hands, we come back onto all fours, we sit back into child's pose and exhale, hands to the heart space. So we inhale again. We come into that deep forward fold, fully exhale here, get rid of your stale breath. Inhale, bend the knees, take your right leg back into a lunge, and then float your fingertips up into a high lunge here. So if your mat's quite spongy, this is a little bit more difficult to balance. So use your thighs, draw them together, power back through that back foot. And then stretch up the front leg and come back down again. Do it twice more. Stretch the front leg. Both legs are straight here, back heel still lifted if you can. And then come down and see if your back knee will kiss the mat. One more. Exhaling to come up. Inhaling to come down. Then bring your hands to the floor. Take your front foot back into plank. Drop to your knees, bring your chest and chin to the floor, leaving your bottom high. Ashtangasana, 8-point pose. Inhale, draw your chest forward, wrap your shoulders back and down, eye gaze down. Tuck the toes. We're in downward facing dog. On an exhalation, hips high to the ceiling. Soften the legs, bring your right leg forward, and then exhale and bring your left leg to meet it. Forward fold. Inhale, up and over. And exhale, hands to your heart center. Let's go on the left. Inhaling. Exhaling. Inhaling, left foot back. And now as you exhale, you're going to draw your fingertips up, stretch them away, stretch that front leg if you can. We inhale to come down. Maybe your back knee touches the mat. We exhale to come all the way up. We inhale to come down. Maybe you can open your chest a little bit more, take a bit of a back bend. And we exhale to come up. We inhale, we come back down again. We press into the mat. We retain the breath in Kumbhakasana, plank pose. Then we come down, knees, chest, chin, Ashtangasana, 8-point pose. We glide through into Bhujangasana, cobra. Wrap your shoulders back and down. Exhale into your downward facing dog. And let's just stay in downward facing dog for a couple of breaths. Pressing alternate heels into the mat in an attempt to get a little bit more space in the back of the body here. Well done. And then inhale, come to all fours and sit back on your heels. So we're going to come into Malasana this morning. That's garland pose. So to come into Malasana, come forward onto all fours, tuck your toes, sit back on your heels to begin with, stretch out the soles of the feet, and then come forward again and arrange your feet so that you come into a low squat. So there are lots of options here. You can have a little seat if you've got a pile of blocks or cushions, if that's really tight in your inner thighs, you're feeling it in your groins, you're not liking it. Or if your heels won't come to the floor because the backs of your feet, your tendons are a bit short, you can use a block here to give you a little bit of support. Otherwise, what you're aiming to do is to get your feet turned out, your heels down, and then you want to tuck your tailbone and lift your chest. Bring your hands to prayer, and maybe you can use your elbows to gently ease out your inner thighs. So I'm showing you from the side. It's not very elegant from the front, and I'm terrified of splitting my trousers on YouTube Live. That would be the perfect morning. So draw your shoulders back and down, lengthen your crown away from your tailbone, and find the stillness in this pose. Malasana, garland pose. So if you want to take it a little bit further, you can stay there, or you can draw the feet in together, a bit closer, and you can take your arms forward, stretch forward, and you can reach your arms round into a bind, clasping your hands behind you, and then sit your bottom back and down. So it may help to bring your feet in to do that. So I've seen people do this in class and say, oh, this is really, really easy. I don't know what the fuss is about, because actually you've got your hands bound above your thighs. Now that is quite straightforward. It's more difficult to bring your hands around your shins and bind there. So if you want the full bind, because mala is a garland, so it's the garland that you're binding around yourself, then take that option. I know some of you can do that. Equally, if you want to have an arm balance this morning, you want to have a go at Bakasana, bring your hands forward, engage with your arm muscles, and maybe you can lift one thigh or the other up to rest on your triceps. Maybe your toes float off the floor and you can bring your big toes together. So if it's in your practice, we want to have a go. I recommend if you're doing it for the first time, you have a pile of cushions in front of you, or just know that you've got a soft landing. It's unlikely you'll fall forward, but if it helps you to know that you've got a soft landing, then do that. Keep your eye gaze forward rather than down. That will make a difference. If you're very strong, you might be able to bring your knees up in towards your armpits and get a higher stance. Personally, I've got very knobbly knees. I find that extremely uncomfortable, but do that or remain here in Malasana. Taking a deep breath. And then release down onto the floor. And while we've got our hips nice and open, we've done lots and lots of stretches into the hip flexors and the hamstrings. So we're going to have a go at Upavista Konasana. Sitting up as tall as you can, stretching your legs up to the side, and then coming into a wide leg forward fold. So have your spine as straight as possible here. If your tendency is to roll back, then maybe a block under the buttock would be helpful. If you really struggle with this position, don't go so wide. Keep your knees soft or rest your back against a wall. Or you can even have your legs up the wall to do it. Lie on the floor and rest your heels on the wall space. Otherwise, inhale here and exhale, come into forward fold. So I'm conscious I'm talking very quickly, and I've taken you very quickly through those last couple of moves. That's because unfortunately we've started a little late this morning. The internet dropped out, had to restart the whole system, blah, blah, blah. Let's not think about that now. But that's just by way of an apology for the time this morning. It is only a few minutes before 8, so if you have to go, then do a nice stretch here, do what you have to do, and I hope you'll come back next week, Tuesday lunchtime at 12, or Thursday morning at 7:30 sharp, we hope. If you've got another few minutes, I intend to keep going for the full time, so please stay if you can. Inhale, lengthen your crown away from your tailbone, and exhale to come more deeply. So we're using the breath here. We're inhaling, opening up the front body, and we're exhaling as we fold. So you may be someone who can just spread your chest across the mat and come into a supine position, in which case I shall try not to envy you. It's a beautiful thing if you can do it. Or you may be way up here thinking that's just horrible. But we have stretched the hamstrings. So maybe if you talk very nicely to them, they'll just give you a little bit more release than they might ordinarily do. Wherever you are on your journey, it's your journey. Be grateful for what your body can do and forgive your body for what it can't do. One more breath here. Walk the fingers back in towards the trunk. Gently draw the knees up towards the ceiling, the heels slide in towards you, and bring your feet together. We're coming down to the floor now. So make sure you've got plenty of mat behind you. I know I say that every time. And tuck your tailbone under as you roll down to the floor, or come down to your back any way you can. So knees face up towards the ceiling, feet come down towards the floor. Open your arms to the side and let your back sink into the mat. So we're going to come into bridge pose here. Inhaling as you press down through the heels. Maybe you press down into the palms as well. And you start to lift your buttocks up. Send the knees over the feet. Watch that your knees don't roll out to the side. Try and keep everything in parallel. Exhaling as you draw the hips up to the ceiling. You can stay here, or you can inhale to draw them back down again. So we can move with the breath, exhaling as we lift and inhaling as we come down. Or if you'd like to stay up here a bit longer, you can clasp your hands under your buttocks. You can maybe start to move out onto your shoulders as you draw your hands together, create more space in the chest. If you want to take it to Chaturpadasana, you can lift your heels, draw your feet in a bit more closely, maybe clasp your heels and lift up a little more here. So the chest comes towards the chin, not the other way around. Keep your neck long and don't turn your head from side to side. So don't look at me at this point with your neck extended. Come down and have a look if you need to. So whichever position you're in, take a few deep breaths. You can come down and come back up again if it's too strong. But back bends generally are really nice in the morning because you're opening up the system, you're increasing your alertness. Shouldn't do too many back bends late at night because they keep you awake. They're contraindicated for insomnia. But at this time in the morning, a little bit of alertness should do us no harm. Inhaling deeply and exhaling as you bring the vertebrae one by one down towards the floor. So when you get there, bring the soles of your feet together and open your thighs. Come into Supta Baddha Konasana. Soles of the feet together, opening the hip. Close the eyes. Connect again with your breath. I'd like to give you a full class this morning, so if you've got a few minutes to stay here, please do so. If you start to feel it in the inner thighs and your groin area, and gently take your hands to your outer thighs and bring your knees together. Take your feet to hip distance or wider, knock the knees in. You can stay here, and/or when you're ready, stretch the legs out into Shavasana. Feet flop open to the sides, hips open to the sides. Backs to the palms on the floor, forearms on the floor, soften into the mat. Breathe deeply. Take these few moments for yourself. Connect with your breath. Enjoy those long threads of breath. Enjoy the joy of breathing. Feel gratitude. If you're able to stay here for a bit longer, then take that time. If the day is already pressing in, then gently draw your knees into your chest. Try and take some of your deep peace with you. When you're ready, roll over onto one side. Draw yourself gently up to a seated position. Draw your crown away from your tailbone. Press your hands together at your heart center. Thank you for your practice today. I'd love to hear your comments. We're about halfway through our lockdown month of yoga, so let me know how that's working for you. And I hope to see you, or I hope that you'll see me, on Tuesday and Thursday of next week. Have a wonderful week and a great weekend. Namaste.